You are listening to solar-powered, listener-supported Sun Radio. I'm Suzanna Choffel, and I am so happy to welcome Charley Crockett to our little cave here, I guess you could say, backstage at ACL Fest. Hey, Charley, thanks for stopping by.
Miss Suzanna, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure.
So you had your second ACL performance today. You did last weekend too, correct?
We did. I felt a lot of pressure last week, because I was nervous.
Yeah.
But this weekend was it was a little more laid back, and I had a great time both days.
I was going to ask you, which one was better? I always ask the double weekend artists, like, okay, which one did you dig more?
I think I performed and sang and better today.
Yeah.
But maybe last week the energy was a little wilder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. First weekend I think is like this, like that crazy excitement of the crowd, especially coming out of COVID times of like, oh my God, this is happening. The second one kind of easing in a little bit more. So.
Well, it's like when you get to do 2 nights at a venue or a theater or something. There's something really nice about the lower pressure on the second show.
Correct.
And I feel like I can just feel more at ease.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
It was hip to skip, though.
That makes total sense, man. Well, you just released is it your 10th album?
Yeah.
You have so many albums, I can't keep track. It's funny, I got hip to you like around 2017 maybe, when you had released, I'm totally blanking on the name of the album that came out that year. Was it?
You talking about a classic country cover record?
That's what it was.
Yeah, It was a record I recorded called Honky Tonk Jubilee.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, who is this? Like, it was kind of one of those, like, sort of stopped me in my tracks. It was probably on Sun Radio, actually, that I heard it, probably before I was DJing there. And I was like, who is this? And so I, of course, looked you up, and I was like, okay, this Charley Crockett guy's got something going. So, and your sound is so cool because it's like, you're not just one thing. You're a lot of different things. And I'm so curious, like, what you grew up listening to that sort of paved the way to, the road to where you ended up musically.
Well, I played on the street for a long time, and I feel like I say that all day, every day when I'm talking to folks, but, I say that because, we used to play 8 or 10 hours a day in New Orleans and New York City and San Francisco, around Texas, and so I always had that kind of endurance for all day playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just put that energy into records. And I'm a late bloomer. I came in this business a little later on this side of it than a lot of folks. But I signed a record deal in New York City that didn't work out in a kind of pop music world that we were just street guys and didn't understand really what we were getting into, and it happened real quick. And it's not a sad story really, it's actually a really good one because I started recording myself after that.
Yeah.
And setting my own pace, and along the way I started looking into the classic artists that I looked up to, like Ray Charles, and I saw how productive they were coming from the humble backgrounds with the limited tools they had. And I thought I want to be productive like this. And when you're crazy enough to like do it your own way, and nobody's telling you not to, I just started throwing down records. And I'm not sure I'd be playing here even today if I didn't do that.
Yeah, the hardship, that kind of challenge probably. I love hearing those stories like that because it's actually, you're right, it's not a sad story. It's just a story of like a turn that changed who you were, and maybe changed like your work ethic, maybe changed your vision and your path. And now you have kind of worked up this incredible following. You have people who really see you for who you are, and they're invested in you, not invested in the, kind of the image of you out in the world and the thing that the industry's trying to make of you. I can definitely, you get an authenticity about you that you can't deny, and that comes from,
That's
I think, the streets. And well, no, it's true. It's like, some people walk the walk, but they can't talk the talk, or something like that, and I feel like you really, it's like when you dig into your records and then go see you live, you can absolutely feel the realness there and the authenticity. So, yeah.
You're very kind.
Well,
for saying that.
I'm not blowing smoke.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know you have roots in San Benito, then you went up to Dallas and you've done the New Orleans thing. It's kind of cool that your new album is called Music City USA, because it sort of feels like you spent time in a lot of the music cities, whether that's Nashville, New York, Austin. What has there been a city that you feel like has affected you the most? I mean, I definitely heard a lot of New Orleans. I feel like in some of your earlier stuff that I feel like influenced you, and it's super fun. It's so fun to hear that style. But I also hear so much Texas in your sound too. Is there a city that you feel like kind of is your city, or is the one that kind of feels like you,
Well, I think anybody that knows what it's like to be from the Rio Grande Valley carries that place in their heart for all their lives, no matter how far away you might get from it. In fact, the older I get, the more I identify with where I was born.
Yeah.
And I think that happens for a lot of people, probably. But, and I say this on stage all the time when I announce one of these songs I play, Call of the Valley, and is that I carried it in my heart, but I had to wander a long way to make something of myself, to find a voice. And New Orleans is a huge part of that for me, because I lived there off and on as a kid with my uncle. So it was a place that I actually partially grew up. And, I think that's part of why I ended up back there in my early 20s on the street.
Right.
New York City affected me from the standpoint of, I think I went there thinking I was going to win this game, but I learned the hard way that you don't beat New York City.
No,
you
don't. I've lived there. That's a city that it really challenges you, shapes you. In fact, I saw your post. Sorry to interrupt. I love that post you posted recently at Times Square, right? There's a big picture of you, and I love the beautiful story that you attached to that. It was very, very meaningful and heartfelt about your journey, because New York, man, it grinds you and it can take from you, but it can also give you a lot. And I felt like that was you could hear that in your story about
you go to New York City to find out if you can hold your own.
Totally.
And if you can hold your own there, you're gonna be able to do that just about anywhere.
Yeah.
And then of course I have to say that Dallas, Texas, and Deep Ellum specifically, it just is a big part of my musical identity with it's kind of like a I always said the real kind of blues American roots city triangle for me was always, New Orleans to Memphis, Memphis to Dallas, Dallas back down to New Orleans. I always felt like that was a golden triangle, and being involved on the street in New Orleans and street playing and in honky tonks and bars in Dallas, Fort Worth, and that kind of jazzier, brashy, kind of brash Texas sound is steeped in there, And then a lot of rural influences, of course, from being from South Texas, but I would say those cities, yeah.
Right on. Well, you're so prolific. I was going down listening to some of your stuff earlier today, just kind of revisiting some older tunes and finding out some of the newer stuff too. And it really does sound like I've been guilty of every now and then looking up your song credits and being like, wait, did he write this? Or is this an old school George Jones song?
Can be hard to
Ernest Tubb, something kind of, but that's a real craft. You have crafted that beautiful golden, whatever you want to name it, whatever genre, country, honky tonk, blues, a little bit of this and that. You've really honed in that skill of perfecting it, but putting your new take on it. You can absolutely tell that it's modern, but it's so golden classic. And I just hats off to you for learning that craft. You can tell you've fine-tuned that. So yeah.
And I'm trying. I've recorded a lot of songs, and not all of them are good, but I can only write a song off of the ones I learned.
Yeah.
So I just try to stick to that. And there's things, it's like there's a lot of people that can play circles around me and just know music in ways that I'll never understand.
Yeah.
But I have a really solid, fundamental understanding of traditional, of folk music.
Yeah.
of roots, that style of playing blues and stuff, and you can work. There's a lot that you can do when you know where your strengths are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it comes through. You can definitely tell. You know it. You've honed your skills, your craft. So
you're so kind. I'm gonna take you with me
to
pump me up.
I'll be your hype man on stage. Be like, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm just kidding. So just to wrap up, where are you going from here? You've played 2 weekends at ACL Fest. Are you staying kind of in Texas area? Are you taking off to go tour other places now that things are sort of getting back to normal-ish?
We're playing at Flores in Helotes,
Nice.
Texas on Friday, and then on Saturday we're going to be at the Texas State Fair in Dallas, which will be my first time.
Awesome.
I always wanted to play the fair my whole life.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you.
That's great.
And then we'll go back out on the road up to Detroit and back down, and then out on the West Coast. And I play a lot.
Right. Yeah. No, you stay busy. You stay busy. You're a musician of the road. You're a nomad, which is another thing that makes you so, like, you can kind of hear that in your songs. You're a wanderer, but you've got roots in all these different places. It's a very unique and very cool thing you've got going. So
Thank you. I'm from the Valley, but I'm pretty well traveled.
Yeah, no, you can tell. And by the way, I love that song, "The Valley." It's one of my favorite songs of yours, and I think it's really it's beautiful to have kind of an autobiographical song that's sort of sort of like your theme song, or your this is my roots, where I'm from.
I always loved Loretta Lynn's song "Coal Miner's Daughter."
Yes.
And I was trying to write one, "A Tenth Is Good." Maybe I got close to
you did
a
good.
tenth.
You did good. You captured the feel. So
thank you.
Right on. Well, Charley, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
No, pleasure belongs to me.
Oh, right on, man. And good luck with all your travels. And I can't wait to hear more music out of you. So
Thank you. I'm gonna put that in my pocket. Take it
all
with me.
right, excellent. Y'all go check out Music City USA, Charley Crockett's latest album. And I am Suzanna Choffel. So happy to be talking with Charley backstage at ACL Fest on behalf of solar-powered, listener-supported Sun Radio.